Hi, my name's Jordan. I'm 32 years old, born and raised in Columbus, Ohio. I never thought my life would turn out the way it has, especially not because of something like cryptocurrency. If you told me 6 years ago that Bitcoin, of all things, would completely turn my world upside down, in the best way possible, I would have laughed. I mean, seriously, I was just another guy working retail, living paycheck to paycheck and trying to figure out how to crawl out of debt. Let me take you back to where it all started. It was the fall of 2017. I was still working at this small electronics store, just scraping by. Rent was late more often than not, and student loans felt like a noose around my neck. My car had just broken down for the third time that year, and my credit score was so low it was basically underground. I didn't have a savings account. Hell, I barely had $200 to my name. I remember scrolling through Reddit during one of my lunch breaks and stumbling onto a thread about Bitcoin. People were talking about how it had just crossed $5,000 for the first time. Some guy said he bought in when it was $300 and now he was a millionaire. At first I thought it was BS. Scammy, shady internet stuff. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. Something in my gut told me to dig deeper. That night, I stayed up until 3 a.m., watching every YouTube video I could find about cryptocurrency. I read white papers I didn't understand, followed subreddits I didn't belong in, and signed up for Coinbase even though I didn't really trust it. My brain felt like it was melting with all the jargon. Blockchain, mining, wallets, gas fees. It was like learning a new language. But something clicked. Over the next week, I put $400 into Bitcoin and $100 into Ethereum. That $500 was literally my rent money, and I lied to myself and said I'd just pull it out in a week or two. Spoiler, I didn't. When I told my family, especially my older brother Marcus, they lost it. My mom said I was being reckless. My sister, who's always been the responsible one, told me I was gambling and I'd end up broken on her couch. Marcus straight up laughed in my face. I still remember what he said. Bro, you couldn't manage a checking account. Now you're pretending to be a Wall Street investor. I'll admit, it stung. And they weren't totally wrong. I hadn't exactly been Mr. Financial Wisdom. But something about this felt different. I didn't expect to get rich overnight. I just knew I wanted out of the life I was living. The price of Bitcoin went up to $7,000 that November. Suddenly, my $400 was worth nearly $600. Ethereum doubled too. For the first time in my life, I felt like I had momentum. Like I wasn't just surviving. I became obsessed. Every break at work, every hour at home, I was studying. I started listening to crypto podcasts, following market analysts, joining Discord groups, and even learning how to read candlestick charts. I stopped going out. I quit video games. It wasn't a phase, it was war. I wanted financial freedom and crypto was my weapon. In early 2018, I took the biggest risk of my life. I sold my car, my Xbox, and pretty much everything I didn't absolutely need. I pulled $6,000 together and dumped it into a combination of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin. Then, as if life just wanted to test me one last time, the market crashed. Bitcoin dropped from nearly $20,000 to under $6,000. Ethereum plummeted. Litecoin practically evaporated. My $6,000 turned into $2,300 in 2 weeks. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Marcus sent me memes of burning money. My mom begged me to cash out whatever was left. My friends stopped inviting me to things. They didn't want to hear about crypto anymore. They thought I was a joke. I won't lie, I was scared. I didn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I thought maybe I was the fool they all said I was. But I didn't sell. Not a single coin. Instead, I doubled down. I took a second job at a warehouse to save more money. I started swing trading altcoins with tiny profits, slowly rebuilding. I learned about staking, cold wallets, and decentralized finance. I stopped looking at the price every hour and started focusing on value, on long-term use cases. I became obsessed with fundamentals. I still remember this one night. I was sitting on the floor of my apartment, eating ramen, laptop open, charting some obscure altcoin no one had ever heard of. And I had this moment of clarity. No one's coming to save me. But maybe, just maybe, I can save myself. Fast forward to 2020. COVID hit and the world went crazy. But something wild happened. The crypto market started heating up again. Ethereum climbed past $1,000. Bitcoin hit $20,000. Then $30,000. I watched my portfolio grow from $2,000 to $10,000 to $100,000 in less than 6 months. I cried. I actually sat in my crappy little apartment and cried. Then I did something even crazier. I took profits. I bought my first rental property in Dayton. It was run down, needed a lot of work, but I paid for it in full. Cash. No mortgage, no loans. Just cold, hard, crypto-converted cash. My mom didn't believe me until I took her there and handed her the keys. Now Marcus wasn't laughing anymore. He was asking me questions. How do I buy Bitcoin? What's this thing called Chainlink? Suddenly, I was the guy everyone wanted to talk to. By 2022, I owned 3 properties and was making passive income every month. I quit my job, traveled to Costa Rica, and finally took my mom on the vacation she'd always dreamed of but could never afford. But the funniest part? They all wanted in. Marcus asked for a $10,000 loan to get started. My sister, who once called me a gambling addict, asked me to teach her about wallets and staking. Even my dad, who used to call Bitcoin that fake internet scam, wanted help setting up a Coinbase account. And the truth? I helped them all. Because even though they mocked me, even though they doubted me, they were still my family. And deep down I understood why they didn't believe. I barely believed it myself sometimes. But I never forgot how they laughed. After I helped my family set up their wallets and accounts, things started to shift between us. There was a weird energy, respect, curiosity, and also envy. It was subtle at first. My mom would brag to her friends, "My son's into Bitcoin, you know. He owns property now." And Marcus? He still couldn't look me in the eye when he asked for that loan, but he took it. No hesitation. Just like that, the roles had reversed. I wasn't the struggling little brother anymore. I was the guy who made it. The one who saw it coming. But the truth is, it wasn't luck. It was obsession, risk, sleepless nights, and pain. I just didn't talk about that part. They saw the success, not the sacrifice. And I guess that's how it always goes. In 2022, I reinvested again. This time in a mix of Ethereum, Solana, and a few DeFi projects that were gaining serious traction. I also hired a CPA who specialized in crypto taxes, because I wasn't about to lose everything over paperwork. Then something wild happened. One of the altcoins I'd been holding, barely even watching, blew up overnight. A small cap project called Render, focused on decentralized GPU rendering, jumped 500% in 3 weeks. I had put $8,000 in months ago, almost forgot about it. When I checked again, it was worth $46,000. Felt like magic. But it wasn't. It was due diligence. It was all the nights I spent reading white papers when my friends were watching Netflix. I was no longer just playing the game, I was mastering it. I decided it was time to scale. I pulled profits again and used them to close on a fourplex in Cincinnati. I renovated 2 of the units myself, working weekends watching YouTube videos on plumbing and drywall. The other 2 I hired contractors for. Within 5 months, all 4 units were rented out, bringing in over $4,000 a month in passive income. This time when I told my dad, he just stared at me like he didn't know who I was anymore. Then he nodded and said, "You're building something real now." That hit different. It wasn't just about crypto anymore. It was about freedom. I didn't have to wake up at 6 a.m. for a job I hated. I didn't need to beg a bank for a loan or fear overdrafting my account if I treated myself to a steak dinner. But the success also brought some unexpected challenges. People changed around me. A high school friend I hadn't talked to in years suddenly slid into my DMs, telling me he always knew I'd do big things. Then he asked if I could spot him $1,500 for some bills. A cousin I barely knew invited me to her wedding, VIP section only, and hinted that I might want to sponsor the bar. One of my former coworkers texted me out of nowhere. "Bro, I heard you're like a millionaire now. Any hot coin tips?" Even Marcus started acting different. He called every week, not just to talk but to ask what to invest in, what to sell, and when. It was like I became the family financial oracle. I didn't mind helping them. Honestly, it felt good to be the one they turned to. But sometimes I wondered if they saw me anymore. Or just the guy with the money. By late 2023, I diversified into real estate, NFTs, and a couple of early-stage Web3 startups. One of them, an AI project focused on smart contract auditing, offered me an advisory role. Me, the guy who used to restock HDMI cables at Best Buy. I wasn't just investing anymore. I was building an ecosystem around the life I wanted. I set up a family trust. I took my mom off her job and started paying her monthly. Not a ton, but enough so she didn't have to clean hotel rooms anymore. I helped Marcus start his own e-commerce store and bought my sister her first rental unit, under the condition that she manage it herself. I didn't just want to win, I wanted them to win too. But then came the holidays. We were all back together at my parents' house for Christmas. Snow falling outside, fireplace lit, the works. And for the first time in years I felt proud. Not just of the money but of how far I'd come. How far we had come. Until my uncle made a snide comment over dinner. He said, "Well, must be nice gambling your way into wealth while the rest of us worked for it." The room got quiet. I looked around. No one defended me. Not my dad. Not my brother. Not even my mom. That stung more than all the laughter back in 2017. Because now I had done exactly what I set out to do. I'd proved them wrong. But some of them still couldn't accept it. That night I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Wondering if I'd made a mistake. Not with crypto, not with investing. But with expecting validation from people who never really believed in me in the first place. The money changed my life. But it also changed my relationships. I started setting boundaries. No more random loan requests. No more financial advice unless someone showed real commitment. I even said no to Marcus once and that didn't go over well. He texted me, "Wow. You really think you're better than us now?" I didn't respond. Because I wasn't trying to be better. I was trying to be free. The truth is, no one claps when you're grinding in silence. No one believes in you until the success is too big to ignore. And even then they might resent you for it. But I didn't do this for applause. I did this so I'd never have to choose between rent and groceries again. So my mom wouldn't have to clock in at 5 a.m. on her birthday. So I could sleep at night knowing my future was in my hands. Crypto gave me that. And no one can take it away. By early 2024 I was in a new phase of life. I'd gone from survival mode to stability and now I was thinking legacy. Generational wealth. I had the money. I had the freedom. But I also had something else. Clarity. I realized I didn't want to just be the crypto guy. I wanted to be someone who built things that lasted. I started speaking at local schools and community centers. Places where kids were growing up just like I did. Where no one talked about investing or financial literacy. I wasn't trying to sell anyone Bitcoin. I just wanted to show them there were other paths besides debt and dead-end jobs. One day this 16-year-old came up to me after a talk. He said, "Mr. Jordan, I didn't even know regular people could invest. I thought that was just rich people stuff." I smiled and said, "I used to think the same thing." That moment stuck with me. So I created a course, simple, free and online. It was called Start Broke, Stay Smart. Just the basics. Budgeting, compound interest, crypto 101, avoiding scams. I shared it with everyone. Friends, strangers, even old coworkers who used to laugh when I talked about Bitcoin during lunch break. To my surprise, the course went viral on TikTok. Not because it was flashy, but because it was real. I didn't act like a guru. I didn't promise limbos. I talked about ramen dinners, emotional breakdowns, and that feeling of checking your bank account and holding your breath. My inbox flooded with stories. Some heartbreaking, some inspiring. A single mom in Texas said she started DCing dollar cost averaging into ETH after watching my videos. A college student from Detroit told me he flipped $100 into $1,200 and paid for his books. A guy who used to be homeless told me he saved his first $5,000 ever and called it his Bitcoin miracle. I wasn't changing the world. But I was changing worlds. One person at a time. But even as all of this was happening, my wealth growing, my influence expanding, there was still tension at home. Marcus and I weren't talking much. That message he sent, "You really think you're better than us now?" It created a wall between us. I had tried to explain that I wasn't cutting him off, I was just protecting my peace. But he took it personally. And deep down I got it. If the roles were reversed, maybe I'd feel the same. One night, I invited him to come check out a new duplex I was renovating. Just the two of us. No lectures, no talk of crypto, just hanging out like we used to. At first it was awkward. He walked around quietly, hands in his pockets, nodding at the fresh paint and new cabinets. Then he looked at me and said, "You really did all this?" "Yeah," I said. "Every inch." He was quiet for a long time. Then he sighed and said, "I was jealous, man. I still am, honestly." I nodded. "I get it." He finally looked me in the eyes and said, "You didn't just make money. You changed." He got serious. Focused. You did the thing we all talk about but never actually do. We sat on the back steps and just talked. No tension. No envy. Just brothers again. It didn't fix everything, but it was a start. That summer, I hosted a family barbecue at one of the properties. Everyone came, my parents, cousins, friends, even that same uncle who once mocked me. This time he didn't say anything slick. In fact, he asked about real estate and if I thought crypto still had room to grow. Funny how things change. My mom gave a little speech, completely unplanned. She stood up with a glass of sweet tea and said, "I just want to say how proud I am of my son. We didn't always understand what he was doing. Some of us thought he was crazy. But look around now. He believed in himself, and now he's helping all of us believe in ourselves too." There were tears. Mine included. I didn't grow up with wealth. I didn't come from money. I didn't go to an Ivy League school or have startup capital. All I had was a cracked iPhone, a half-broken laptop, and a crazy belief that maybe, just maybe, this internet money could change my life. And it did. But not just because of the coins. Because of what it taught me. Crypto taught me patience, discipline, risk management, how to research, how to think for myself, how to filter signal from noise. It wasn't just an investment, it was a classroom. And I was finally getting straight A's. I was also learning when not to invest. I passed on dozens of shady meme coins and overhyped NFT rug pulls. I got scammed once, lost $2,000 in a fake token launch, but I bounced back. Every mistake was tuition. By the end of 2024, my net worth crossed $1.4 million. Not billionaire territory. Not flashy influencer level. But it was enough. More than enough. And for someone who used to dig quarters out of couch cushions, it was a miracle. But you know what really hit me? One afternoon I was at the DMV helping my mom renew her license. We were sitting in those uncomfortable plastic chairs, waiting for her number to be called. And she leaned over and whispered, "I sleep better now, knowing you're okay. That you won't ever struggle the way we did." That was it. That was the real aura. Not the houses. Not the account balance. Not the speaking gigs or followers. Just that peace. That calm. That sense that for the first time in my life I was safe. So when people ask me today, is crypto still worth it? I say this. It's not just about the coins. It's about control. Control over your time. Your income. Your future. Crypto isn't a guarantee. It's not a cheat code. But it can be a key, if you're willing to learn, adapt, and stay in the game when everyone else quits. Because the world will laugh at you. Until they don't. By the start of 2025, things had settled into a rhythm. I had multiple income streams, solid investments, a circle of people I trusted, and, most importantly, peace of mind. But deep down I knew my journey wasn't over. In fact, I was just getting started. Crypto had given me the launchpad, but now I wanted to build a rocket. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I founded a startup. It wasn't about riding the next trend or creating some token with my face on it. It was about solving a real problem, financial literacy. I called it Blockwise. A simple mobile app designed to teach people how to manage money, understand crypto, and avoid scams. All in plain English. No overhyped jargon. No financial gatekeeping. Just straight-up education for people like me. Regular folks with big dreams and empty wallets. I put up $50,000 of my own money to build the MVP. Hired 2 developers, a designer, and a content writer. We launched a beta version to my followers. And the response was insane. People didn't just want to make money, they wanted to understand it. They were tired of being lied to by gurus with rented Lamborghinis and fake screenshots. They wanted real stories. Real lessons. Real tools. We hit 10,000 downloads in the first month. Then 30,000. Then 100,000. A venture capital firm reached out to me in April. They wanted to invest. Not in the app but in me. They'd seen my story, followed my journey, and they believed in what I was building. We closed a $1.2 million seed round in May. I sat at the signing table, staring at the paperwork, thinking about that old apartment where I used to eat instant noodles while tracking Bitcoin prices on a cracked screen. I signed with the same hand that once dug through couch cushions for gas money. Wild. But even with all this, Blockwise, the properties, the investments, I still remembered where it all began. That moment in 2017 when I clicked buy on Bitcoin with rent money I didn't have. And I'll be honest, it scared me. Not the money. Not the success. What scared me was how fast it all can disappear if you forget who you are. So I kept my routines. I still woke up early. I still did my own grocery shopping. I still journaled every night. Because I never wanted to lose that fire, that sense of why I started. I started taking therapy seriously too. Not because I was broken, but because I wanted to stay whole. Success can mess with your head. You start questioning who's really for you, who just wants a piece, and whether you even deserve all of it. My therapist asked me one day, "What are you afraid of now?" And without thinking, I said, "Waking up one day and realizing it was all a fluke." She smiled gently and said, "It wasn't. You worked for it. You bled for it. You earned it." That stuck with me. In the summer of 2025, I flew my mom to Italy. Business class. 5-star hotels. Private tours. She cried on the balcony of our suite in Florence. Said she never dreamed she'd see the world like this. And I told her, "You made it possible. You gave up everything so I could try." She said, "No. You believed when no one else did." I guess we both were right. Meanwhile, Blockwise kept growing. We hit 500,000 users. Schools started using our content in their classrooms. I was invited to speak at a global fintech conference in Singapore. Me, some regular dude from Columbus who used to sell HDMI cables. But I didn't let it go to my head. Because for every win there were still trolls online calling me lucky. Saying I just got in early. That I caught a wave. That I got rich off memes. They didn't see the sleepless nights. The panic during market crashes. The years of being called crazy. The times I stared at my phone with tears in my eyes, wondering if I'd just ruined my life. No one saw that part. They only see the houses. The flights. The conference badges. The screenshots. But you know what? That's okay. Because I didn't do it for them. I did it for the younger version of me, the scared kid staring at his bank account, wondering if this was all life had to offer. I did it for the version of me who used to pray for just one break. I did it for my family. For my future kids. For every person who's ever been told, "That'll never work." And here's what I'll tell you. If you're reading this, if you're listening, if you're still grinding with nothing to show yet, don't quit. Ignore the noise. Trust your gut. Learn like your life depends on it, because it just might. There will be losses. Mistakes. People who don't believe in you. Some of them will be the ones closest to you. Let them laugh. Because one day, if you stay focused, if you stay humble, if you stay relentless, they'll stop laughing. And start calling. Just like mine did. Now I own 3 homes. I have a company. I've built a life I love. And the same family that once mocked me, they call every week for advice, for help, for hope. Funny how the crazy one became the lighthouse. And to think, it all started with a $500 investment.